Hi, I'm trying to do a video to try to explain the new algorithm for 3D fluoroscopic wiring. And I hope that this can be a sort of base for us to start working on this algorithm. So uh, in CTO wiring, over the last decade or so, there's been increasing use of anti-grade wire escalation and increasing success of single wire anti-grade wire escalation. This is because of improving wire skills in the operators, as well as improving wire technology. Most CTO operators find it quite easy to get the wire from the proximal lumen to near the distal cap, except the cases where you have tough, ambiguous proximal cap. Most of the time, within few minutes, the operator can wire easily to the distal cap. But wiring from near the distal cap to the distal true lumen remains a main barrier towards successful CTO PCI. How many times have we done a case and we've wired and we've got very easily to the distal cap, but we can't wire with this true lumen? 3D fluoroscopic wiring can greatly improve the chance of successful wiring into distal true lumen, especially when the distal cap is located in a coronary segment that's easy to see in true fluoroscopic views. That is the mid-RCA, the distal RCA, the mid and distal LAD. Now, but as soon as I mention the mid-RCA, the distal RCA, the mid and distal LAD, you realize that these positions account for the majority of CTOs because LAD and RCA CTOs are more common than circumflex CTO, and mid and distal location of the cap, distal cap is more common than proximal. So in other words, 3D fluoroscopic wiring is useful in many CTO cases. However, CTO fluoroscopic 3D wiring is not used a lot in current practice. The technique is first described by Okamura in 2016 in CIT, and subsequently in 2019, Okamura published a series of 137 retrospective CTO cases demonstrating higher success rate, 98 versus 90%, shorter procedure time, 29 versus 42 minutes, and a trend towards lower perforation if 3D fluoroscopic wiring was used. Okamura also described an easier method, the opposite behind, same in front method. But despite this, the adoption of 3D fluoroscopic wiring has been very slow and very low. I think there are several reasons for this. Number one, quoting Okamura himself, he says, however, the construction of a mental 3D image is difficult. And this is a problem. To construct a mental 3D image is actually hard for most people. Secondly, the comprehension of opposite behind, same in front is very limited. It's limited to a small group of Japanese operators, and many people don't understand this principle. And also the fluoroscopic angles that are needed are unknown to most CTO operators. So what about 3D fluoroscopic wiring in the AP-CTO Club? Well, in 2023 AP-CTO Club Cinema, I tried to teach one lecture on 3D fluoroscopic wiring. And I used only the mental image imagination 3D technique. You have a mental image of where the wire is and where the cap is. But this lecture, although it was played to 30 or so of the top high volume CTO operators in Hong Kong, none of them understood. And it's my fault. I'm not a good teacher. I'm a bad teacher. So I spent the last few months, 6 months or so, working and reverse engineering the whole 3D fluoroscopic wiring thing. And it's now to try to make a method of 3D fluoroscopic wiring that's easy, simple, robust, reproducible, and teachable. And of course, in an algorithm, since I'm the algorithm guy, this is the algorithm. It's a 12-step simple algorithm. Step number one, stop wiring when your wire reaches within 10 millimeters to the distal cap. Step number two, drill the microcatheter forward and step up to a high penetration force wire. Step number three, put a torque on the wire. Step number four, go to 90 degrees apart specific views for that coronary segment and do a biplane cine with retrograde injection, or two views if you have a single plane. Okay. Number five, identify the view where the wire is farthest away from the target. This we'll call the far view. And then turn the wire towards the target in this view. Number six, go to the other view, the near view, and straighten the wire tip by very small 1 to 2 degree wire rotation. Number seven, calculate the ratio of distance to target. Now, this is the only calculation we have to do in the whole algorithm, but we need to do this. We need to calculate the ratio of distance from target to wire. This is the distance of the wire shaft to the target in the near view divided by the distance of the wire shaft to the target in the far view. In other words, how much nearer is the wire to the target in the near view compared to the far view. Number 8, we rotate the wire towards the target in the near view according to the ratio. If the ratio is 1/4, we rotate 11 degrees. If it's half, 22 degrees. If it's 3/4, 33 degrees. And it's the same distance in both views, rotate 44 degrees. Go back to the far view, number 9, to wire the distal true lumen. Now, the wire could puncture beyond the distal cap, goes to the opposite side of the vessel. In which case, step 10, we pull the wire back until it's 2 millimeters proximal to the distal cap. We rotate 180 degrees the wire and push forward again to puncture. Or the wire could wire on the near side of the target. In this case, step 11, we pull back the wire to 20 millimeters proximal to the distal cap and we puncture forward again, giving more longitudinal distance for the wire to travel horizontally. And with these techniques, we can gain number 12, successful wiring into the distal true lumen. Let me run through this step by step and explain the reasons behind these steps. Stop when the wire reaches 10 millimeters from the distal cap, step 1. Wires are forward-moving penetrative devices. They need longitudinal distance to cross horizontally. So we get to already beyond the distal cap or at the distal cap, the wire is not going to be able to cross the vessel and go into it. The battleground, where the battle takes place for distal true lumen wiring, is 10 millimeters proximal to the distal cap target. So we need to stop at 10 millimeters and get all the gear and wires ready for 3D fluoroscopic method, which is the high penetration wire, group wire control, etc. Number 2, drill the microcatheter towards the wire tip and step up the penetration force. Wire control is dependent upon backup force and penetration force of the wire. So we need to get group backup force by drilling the microcatheter near the wire tip, and also for stepping up to a high penetration force wire, a Conquest 12, a Guyamix 3, or Guyamix 4. The high penetration wire is safe in these cases because by the time you're 10 millimeters from the distal cap, there's no vessel course ambiguity. And if there's no ambiguity and you can precisely direct your wire, a high penetration force wire is safe. We need to also recognize the tough distal cap. This we published already in the Heart-Lung Circulation Journal. The sort of taper tip Washington Monument cap, the blunt round cap, the calcified cap, and the cap with the large side branch. This is the pattern that's going to be a tough cap. In these cases, go towards the Conquest 12 wire. Put a torque on the wire. I know many operators around the world don't use the torque device at all, and some of them are very good friends to me, and it's okay. But remember, the torquer is not a religiously cursed object. No witch has put a curse on the torquer, so if you touch it, you won't die, and you won't go to hell. So try it. Pick up a torquer for 3D wiring, only for 3D wiring, even if that's the case. Because in this method, you need to turn the wire 11 degrees or 22 degrees. This is 2 minutes on a clock face or 4 minutes on a clock face. It's very small rotation, and it's not possible to do without a torquer on the wire. Number 4, go to 90 degrees apart specific views for the coronary segment where the distal cap is, and do a biplane tuning with retrograde injection. We need at least 90 degrees between the two X-ray tubes to maximize 3D wiring potential. And we also need to know the fluoroscopic angles to use. The angles are, I will tell you here, for mid-RCA, LAO 45, RAO 45. For mid to distal LAD, LAO cranial, 45 LAO, 30 cranial, and RAO cranial, 45 RAO, 30 cranial. For distal RCA, is LAO cranial, 30 LAO, 45 cranial, and LAO caudal, 30 LAO, 45 caudal. This two view cannot be done with a biplane. You have to use one plane to the other in single plane manner. The other coronary segments all can be visualized with biplane and most of them can be done at 90 degrees. And the details of this is published in Okamura's textbook, which is the Chronic Total Occlusion, A Guide to Recanalization, edited by Ron Weitzman and Shigeru Shado. Number 5, identify the view the wire is furthest from target, that's the far view, and turn the wire towards the target. This is an easy step. This is what we always do in CTOPCI. I think everybody who's done a CTOPCI has done this. We go to the view where the wire looks worse, furthest away from the target, and we turn the wire tip towards the target. The only difference here is I want you to do it well. So you should mag up and cone in to see the wire tip clearly, and we should turn gradually so that we see when the wire tip is most pointing towards the target. That will be best. Number 6, go to the other view, the near view, and straighten the wire tip by very small rotation. Now, this is again what we do usually. After we turn the wire towards the target, we check the other view. But we don't straighten the wire tip, but it's important to straighten the wire tip. To straighten the wire tip, only turn 1 to 3 degrees, no more than 5 degrees at most. By doing this, we have 2 advantages. Number 1, when we rotate very slightly, we learn which way the wire turns towards the target, whether it's clockwise or counterclockwise. Then we don't need a mental map or 3D image to know which way to turn. Also, it corrects any slight deviation of the wire tip so that when we turn the precise number of degrees angle later on, the wire is precisely accurate. Number 7, calculate the ratio of distance to target. This is the distance of the wire shaft to the target in the near view divided by the distance of the wire shaft to the target in the far view. Okay? This is the only calculation we need, and this calculation aims to answer one question. Compared to the far view, how far is the wire from the target in the near view? Now, we measure the distance from the wire shaft just proximal to the tip bend, the distal tip bend, just proximal to that, that's where we want to measure, to the target, the midpoint of the target, okay? And we divide the distance in the near view against the distance in the far view, and we get a ratio. It could be an eighth, it could be a quarter, it could be a third, it could be a half, it could be 3/4, it could be the same distance. The ratio tells us how much to rotate the wire by. If it's the same distance, rotate 44 degrees. If it's half, 22 degrees. If it's a quarter, 11 degrees. If it's 3/4, 33 degrees, etc. You divide the distance by the degrees. Now, how much is this turn? In the clock face, we know if we turn from 12 o'clock to 3 o'clock, it's 90 degrees. If we turn from 12 o'clock to 7.5 minutes, 1:30, is 45 degrees. So roughly every 2 minutes on the clock face is 11 degrees. So we want 11 degrees, we want to turn 2 minutes on the clock face. 4 minutes for 22 degrees, 6 minutes roughly for 33 degrees, and 8 minutes roughly for 45 degrees. Roughly, this is the amount we have to turn. So we rotate, number 8, we rotate the wire towards the target in the near view according to the ratio. Now, this seems a very small amount of rotation, but this is correct, and I'll show you why later on, okay? And I'm sure you've had the experience that I have had, which is in the far view, you turn the tip towards the target. You go to the near view, you turn the tip towards the target, and you go back to the far view, and the wire is pointing in completely the wrong direction. And the reason, one of the main reasons for this is because we turn too much in the near view. And this is a parallax error. It's a visual error. Now, let me see if I can explain this. It's not critically important to understand this, but this is the model we have. The red rhombus thing is the distal true lumen. The red line thing is the wire. LAO view on the left-hand side, RAO view on the right-hand side. Far view is the LAO view. Okay, in the LAO view, the distance between the shaft and the middle of the target is 4. In the near view, the distance between the shaft and the target is middle of the target is 1. So we need to turn 11 degrees. Okay, in the LAO view here, our wire is turned directly pointing at the target. In the RAO view, we've made the mistake now of turning the wire directly to the target, but that's far too much to turn. Because what we want really, because in the RAO view, it's all overlapped. It's a foreshortened view. So if we turn it all the way to the target, we've turned way too far. What we need, in fact, is this kind of angle, because as we push forward in the RAO view, actually the wire moves very little. It should move very little. It's moving towards you. Most of the distance is lost coming towards you. So if you point it directly at the target, it's going to move too far away. Okay? So this is the direction it should go. It should go straight. So we always make the mistake of turning too much in the second view. We shouldn't do that. So why do we turn 11, 22, 33, 44 degrees maximum? How do we get that? Well, this comes from the clock face model that I made to try to reverse engineer 3D fluoroscopic wiring. So imagine that the coronary artery is a clock face with 12 hours around the clock. Okay, and for this case, let's say that the distal target true lumen is right in the middle of the clock. Okay, and our cameras, our two fluoroscope is at 4 o'clock and 7 o'clock. This is the 90 degrees apart, two camera angles. Okay, we have 24 possible wire positions. The wire can be at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, etc. It can be outer, near the outer side of the vessel, or near the inner side of the vessel, giving you 24 wire positions. Okay. In this case, any wire that lines on these two red lines is going to be equally far from 4 o'clock as well as 7 o'clock from the distal cap. Let's say a wire is here. On camera 4 and camera 7 is the same distance. This distance in camera 4 and this distance in camera 7 is the same distance to the distal cap. These two lines, the equal distance line, marks 44 degrees turn. Okay, so let's move to the next slide. This means that any area that's painted in yellow is further in camera 4 than camera 7. So camera 4 will be far view, camera 7 will be near view. And anything in green, the wire position, is further in camera 7 than camera 4. Camera 7 will be far view, camera 4 will be near view. When we turn the wire tip towards the center, towards the target, in the far view camera, this is what we get. Okay, well, actually, this is not really what we get because each wire turn can have some error. When we turn in the far view of camera 4, it doesn't turn necessarily straight. It may be a little bit forward, a little bit backward, we don't know. And that is why we need to go to the other camera to straighten the wire tip. And after we straighten the wire tip, this is what we get. Now, all the wire tips is pointing exactly straight towards the central target. Then we have to determine how much to turn. We remember, same distance, we turn 44 degrees, half distance, 22 degrees, a quarter distance, 11 degrees. This is the reason why. Okay, let's say you're lucky, and this is the 1 o'clock outer rim wire position. In camera 4, it's on the far view, you turn it towards inside. On the camera 7, you straighten it. And because it's 0 degrees, okay, it's because it's straight slap bang in the middle, so the ratio is 0, you don't need to turn it all. This will point already at the distal cap. Let's take this 230 outer rim wire position. It's on the equal distance line. So we need to turn 44 degrees and it will point towards target. Let's take this 2 o'clock outer position, okay? In the 2 o'clock, okay, it's roughly about 5 minutes from the distance in the 4 o'clock camera. Okay, in the 4 o'clock camera, if we take this 2 o'clock line, it cuts around at 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes to 4 o'clock. It's about 5 minutes distance between the 2 o'clock outer rim wire and the target. On the 7 o'clock camera, the 2 o'clock cuts around 6:30. It's 2.5 minutes away from the target. 2.5 minutes divided by 5 is 1/2, so you should rotate 22 degrees. And when we rotate these angles, what we get is the wire points exactly at the distal cap. Now, I've done this for all different type of model. I've tried to put the distal true lumen on the side of the vessel, the camera at 6 o'clock and 9 o'clock, and the red line now is the equal distance line. Everything in green is further in camera 6. Everything in yellow is further in camera 9. We turn the wires towards and we straighten them in the other view. This is what the wire tip is going to look like. And we can work out on the equal poise line, you turn 44 degrees. In this case, where the distance in camera 6 is very little, and the distance in camera 9 is more, it's about twice as much, you turn 22 degrees. In this case, where it's directly straight, 0 degrees. And when you do this, the wires will all point towards the target. We've done it with cameras at the back. What are the cameras on the far side compared to the distal true lumen? These are the two equal points line. Again, everything in green is further in camera 11. Everything in yellow is further in camera 2. When we turn the wires, this is where they point. And you can do the same things. And in the equal distance line is 44 degrees. In this, where the distance is 1 in camera 2 and 4 in camera 11 is 11 degrees, and so on and so forth. I've done this in many, many models, and every time it works. This is very robust. Therefore, this is a very robust, accurate rotation of angle for 3D wiring, and it overcomes the weakness of lack of precise rotation angle in the Okamura method. We go back to the far view. We go back to the far view to wire the distal cap. And this is because the view that the wire looks furthest away, looks worse, is the most useful view. Often, you know this, some beginner CTO operators often try to wire the CTO on the view that looks better because they think it's more optimistic, it's nearer. But that's a mistake because that's the overlap view. We should always go to the far view to wire. Okay. Number 10, the wire goes beyond the distal cap. If the wire goes beyond the distal cap, we need to pull back near to the target, rotate the wire by 180 degrees, and push forward. Now, I've done this in a model. This is a contrast model. This sort of slightly stained is the CTO body. There's a fine cross in the distal cap, and this injection stains the distal true lumen. Okay, so this is the model. This is the wire, okay, on a fine cross in the antegrade. And you will see when we push this wire, it misses by going beyond the distal true lumen marked by the fine cross. Here we push, and it's gone beyond, okay? So the correction for this is to rotate backwards, okay? So here, you come back a little bit, and you rotate 180 degrees, and you can poke into the true lumen, okay? So this is the method to deal with going beyond step 10. Step 11, the wire passes on the near side of the distal cap. In this case, we need to pull back more to allow more distance for the wire to move horizontally to hit the target. I used the model of an airplane. If you're flying an airplane, you try to drop a bomb on the tower being the distal cap, the bomb being the wire. This is what you want. If the bomb drops too quickly and you miss the near side, how should you bomb the tower? Well, the next time you fly around, you should fly higher. This is the same principle. By pulling the wire back further, now there's more distance for the wire to drop and hit the target. This is the near side principle. The far side is the opposite. If your bomb overshoots the tower, what you need to do is to rotate it back because this missile has heat seeking. You can turn it around. It's controllable. Therefore, no matter where the target is in the vessel, no matter where the X-ray tube is relative to the target, as long as we have 90 degrees between the two views, we can use our algorithm to get 3D fluoroscopic wiring. This algorithm does not require a mental image at all. It doesn't strain the brain, and is intuitive to our normal CTO wiring practices. It has very precise rotational angles and is therefore very reproducible and robust. So I warmly recommend this algorithm for you to try in your distal caps. And I wish you every success in your CTO PCI kits. Now I'm going to skip the video for me. And so I'm going to show you again the wiring, the algorithm for you to consider. And I'll end it here. I'll send the demonstration video to you separately. Thank you.